In the first 6 episodes of this series, we picked 2/3 of the 2023 regular season schedule, jumping around all 272 games, looking at a variety of factors that make them more predictable. In episode 7, we looked at the schedule chronologically and made picks for games through week 8. With less than 55 regular season games left to pick, it's time to finish the first draft of predictions for the 2023 Pro Football regular season schedule. Miami and Kansas City open the month of November with a game to be played in Frankfurt, Germany. This will be the first game wide receiver Tyreek Hill plays against Kansas City since he was traded to Miami a year ago. Hill was a dynamic player for Kansas City over 6 seasons, but they made a business decision to move on. I think the fastest man in football will make Kansas City pay for that decision week 9, leading Miami to victory. Tight end Darren Waller also plays his former team week 9 when New York visits Las Vegas, and I'm picking New York in another revenge win. 16 teams finished last season with a losing record, and 10 of those teams play each other week 9. Carolina plays 2 of these teams after their bye week, and both of those games will be in Carolina. When Frank Reich was the head coach in Indianapolis, he had a perfect record in the first game after a bye week, winning all 4 of those games with 4 different quarterbacks. Now that Frank Reich is the head coach in Carolina, it's plenty reasonable to expect them to win week 8. The next week, Frank Reich coaches against Indianapolis for the first time since his controversial departure, and I expect Carolina to win by multiple touchdowns in their most dominant victory of the season. Assuming Houston does lose to Carolina in week 8, then we're projecting 2 1-win teams to play week 9, and it'll be Houston's second straight game against the NFC South. Tampa Bay will be coming off a tough Thursday game against Buffalo, but the extra rest should be helpful. Houston is young and unproven. Tampa Bay still has some good veterans. That's why I'm picking Tampa Bay to win. I don't expect Cleveland to have much trouble with Arizona if Kyler Murray isn't available. I don't expect Los Angeles to be at full strength week 9, and I think it will cost them their game at Green Bay. I don't like the way New Orleans defends running quarterbacks, and that's why I'm taking Chicago to win in week 9. Both Seattle and Baltimore should have winning records when they play the morning of week 9. After trading for Roquan Smith last season, Baltimore became one of the best run defenses in football. If Seattle can't establish their run game against Baltimore, then I don't see how they can win that game. Minnesota plays back-to-back games against the NFC South in week 9 and week 10. We previously picked Minnesota to win their first 2 games against the NFC South, plus we've picked them to lose their first 2 division games, as well as 4 games against playoff teams from 2022. I think Minnesota will feast on the prospect of beating 2 more teams from the NFC South, and those victories could lead to a winning streak that gets Minnesota back in the wild card hunt. Tennessee plays 2 games of their own against the NFC South in week 10 and week 12. Tampa Bay was the worst team in the league running the ball on offense last season, whereas Tennessee had the best defense in football with respect to stopping the run. That's why I'm picking Tennessee to win a low-scoring game week 10 when they travel to Tampa Bay, but I see Tennessee getting upset week 12 against Carolina in their only home game in November. Los Angeles plays back-to-back games against the NFC North in week 10 and week 11. Since Detroit was one of the worst teams in football at defending the pass last season, I'm giving quarterback Justin Herbert the edge in his first career start against Detroit in week 10. Green Bay was significantly better at defending the pass last season, and given how cold Green Bay gets in November, I'm picking Los Angeles to lose this game on the road. Denver travels to Cleveland in week 12, and this game will be only the second game ever where quarterbacks Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson play against each other in the regular season. I don't expect either Denver or Cleveland to be above 500 when they play week 12, but I think Cleveland will jump back into the wild card race with a very close win. New Orleans is scheduled to play Atlanta twice in the last 7 weeks of the season. In the last 7 games these teams played against each other, 6 have been won by New Orleans. Atlanta quarterback Desmond Ridder lost the first start of his career against New Orleans last season in week 15. That game was close, and I expect everything about Atlanta to be better this season, so I'm picking Atlanta to beat New Orleans when they first play each other in Atlanta during week 12, and I'm picking Atlanta to win again when they play New Orleans in the final week of the regular season. Some people think Buffalo at Philadelphia could be a preview of the final game of the postseason, but I see Buffalo having a mid-season regression with a lopsided loss in the city of brotherly love. Arizona is unlikely to play in any games this season that anyone would consider a championship preview, but I'm not expecting them to go winless either. Week 10 against Atlanta is unlikely to go their way, and I'll hold off on Christmas Eve in Chicago for now, because I'm taking Arizona to beat Los Angeles for their first win of the season in their last game in November. The first Sunday of December will feature a rematch of last season's NFC Championship game. Many people believe San Francisco would have beat Philadelphia in that game if they would have had a healthy quarterback. I'm assuming San Francisco will have a healthy quarterback in week 12. That's why I'm picking them to win. During the first week of December, New England will play Los Angeles and Pittsburgh over 5 days. In Justin Herbert's first 2 years in the league, he struggled big time when he played New England. Week 14 should be the first time in Kenny Pickett's career that he'll start against New England. I like to think Justin Herbert has improved enough as a player to beat New England in his third try, but I don't think Kenny Pickett has enough in his arsenal to beat New England in his first attempt. Tennessee plays 3 division games in December, starting with Week 13 at Indianapolis, and I have Tennessee winning that game to stay competitive at the top of the AFC South. In the first half of December, Los Angeles plays back-to-back games against the AFC North. In the second half of December, they play 2 games against the NFC East. If our earlier prediction comes true, and Los Angeles is on the wrong side of Arizona's first win in 2023, then I see Los Angeles playing the final third of the season with some renewed vigor, winning their December home games Week 13 against Cleveland and Week 15 against Washington, while losing their away games Week 14 at Baltimore and Week 17 at New York. Houston plays 3 consecutive games at home Weeks 11, 12, and 13, and I see them closing that stretch out with an upset win against Denver. New Orleans plays 3 consecutive games at home Weeks 13, 14, and 15, and I think they'll bookend that stretch with losses to both Detroit and New York. Washington has the latest bye week of any team in football this season, and since they also play on Thanksgiving, there will be a multi-week period of time where Washington only plays 1 game. In his career as a head coach, Ron Rivera has a losing record in games after the bye week, as well as games the week after his teams play on Thursday, making Miami a good bet to win their game in Week 13. Minnesota starts December with their bye week, followed by back-to-back away games against Las Vegas and Cincinnati. If both Davante Adams and Justin Jefferson play Week 14, it will be a fun game to watch. But Minnesota should have more to play for at this point in the season, which is why I'm picking them to win. Cincinnati should have even more to play for in December, which is why I have them beating Minnesota. Based on the picks made to this point, we're projecting Dallas, Chicago, and Seattle to be the top contenders for the 3 wildcard spots in the NFC heading into Week 15. We already picked Seattle over Arizona in Week 18, and I'm picking Chicago over Arizona in Week 16 as well. But Cleveland is a veteran team, and their experience should help them beat Chicago in mid-December. I expect Atlanta to lead the league in rushing this season, and teams that can run the ball well have the advantage in late December. That's why I'm picking Atlanta over Chicago in Week 17. If we pick Green Bay to win their game at Carolina in Week 16, then our projections would put both Green Bay and Chicago at 8-8 when they play in the final week of the season. But I have Bryce Young surpassing Jordan Love in the quarterback rankings this season, which means I have Green Bay losing their game in Week 16. And if Green Bay has little to play for while Chicago has a chance at the playoffs, then I'm picking Chicago to beat Green Bay in Week 18, finishing their regular season with a winning record. Last season during Week 18, Washington stunned Dallas in Washington to win Sam Howell's first career start. Dallas returns to Washington in Week 18 this season, and I think they'll learn from last year's mistake. The week before, Dallas plays their last home game of 2023, and I like Dallas to win that game as well. Dallas plays 3 straight home games before back-to-back away games against the AFC East, with the first away game happening in Buffalo, one of the coldest cities in football, and the second away game happening in Miami, one of the most humid cities in football. I like Buffalo to beat Dallas in the cold Week 15, then lose Week 16 on a Saturday night at Los Angeles, and I also like Miami to beat Dallas in the humidity Week 16, then lose Week 17 when they travel to Baltimore. Seattle has beat Philadelphia the last 7 times they've played, but I think that streak will end Week 15. There's a lot of speculation about who will be playing quarterback for Tennessee in December, and that's why I'm picking Seattle to win Week 16. Even though I expect Pittsburgh to be an excellent team in 2023, I'm picking Seattle to win their last home game of the season and secure the top wildcard spot in the NFC. On the other side of the standings, Indianapolis closes the regular season with back-to-back home games. Indianapolis and Houston played each other in the final week of the 2022 regular season, and Houston shocked Indianapolis, winning the game with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion in the final minute. I like Houston to finish the season on another high note with another Week 18 win over Indianapolis, and I'm taking Las Vegas over Indianapolis in Indianapolis the week before as well, although the next week I'm picking Las Vegas to lose to Denver to close out their 2023 regular season. The final 2 games to pick are from the AFC North, and we've saved them for last because one of these games has the potential to be the final game of the 2023 regular season. Based on our projections so far, we have Baltimore leading the AFC North heading into Week 18. Cincinnati hosts Cleveland that week, and if Cincinnati is playing for the division, then I'd expect Cincinnati to win. Our projections have Pittsburgh as the odd team out in the wild card race going into Week 18, but I think Pittsburgh will find a way to win at Baltimore in the final Sunday night football game of the season, securing the top wild card spot in the AFC while simultaneously stopping Baltimore from winning the AFC North and knocking Miami out of the playoffs completely. And now that we've picked all the games left to pick, let's add them to all the games picked in the first 7 episodes, and then we've officially picked all 272 games on the 2023 Pro Football regular season schedule. Thank you very much for watching episode 8 of our preseason series. If you would like to be amongst the first to know when the next episode is available, go to footballelementary.com and sign up for the email list or follow Pro Football Max on the socials. Until next time.